physical wealth.
Hello. Today is December 16th, 2024. I'm still battling a little illness. Everybody in here is trying to, get over being a little sick. But we back. And I'm going to give people a little time to come in today. We're doing the Erudition Network, Adroit Living session of the Erudition Network. So it's an interactive show where we talk about things that impact mental health and as it relates to the current events, and it talks about the whole person as opposed to just focusing on one or two things. I like to address how everything impacts the whole person. A lot of times we're just a little too narrow-minded about these things, so we try to be a little bit more broad about how these things impact us as a whole person, and not just, my head hurts, and that's totally unrelated to anything and everything else. Oh, my stomach hurt, and that's totally unrelated to anything and everything else, and there's no correlation to the way I'm going to act the rest of the day or during the duration of the time that my stomach hurts or my head hurts, and all the consequences that follow. So feel free to interact in the comments, ask questions, say something. If it's about previous episodes that I did, say something about that. If it's about, anything like something that you want to see or something like that, say something. If it's about my book, Generational Wealth, Information and Symmetry in Your Success, say something. If you read it, say something. If you read some of my academic writings and you want to talk about those in more details, say something. Get in the comments, say something. If you want me to elaborate more on women's issues or whatever, just say something. Get in them comments, say something. Let's see what you're talking about. I've done previous shows by request, so of course you can say something and we'll talk more about it. We'll dig deeper into it. But today's show, the topic is no respect or disrespect a person. It's deeds. So it's about the deeds that are being done. It's about the acts. It's about what are you doing? I don't care about your title. I really don't even care about your name, except to identify you are the one I'm trying to talk to or get in touch with, or you're the one to attribute to these things. But more importantly, it's about your deeds, because the deeds that you do is the reason why I'm going to be looking for you. Okay, so let's get into it. Some people fail to identify the trending problem of telling people what they want to hear. It's a problem. You're telling people what they want to hear instead of telling them facts that they need to know or need to hear or need to understand. It's a difference between telling people what they want to hear and elaborating further on facts that they need to hear so that they can apply those things to their life and their daily living. Now, a lot of times I get nervous trying to talk on film or on camera, so I do a little bit of reading of the things that I write previously so I can feel a little bit more comfortable. So if you see me reading, don't be mad. I'm just saying. But the general problem with telling people what they want to hear as opposed to elaborating on facts is that it's like it's being done for people to like you or favor you, or a lot of times you'll see social media and they're doing it for likes and subscriptions for people to come back and view their stuff. It's like, no, we don't want likes and favor because you said whatever someone wanted to hear. The problem is the unavoidable consequences you will endure because you fail to speak facts for favor. Okay, those are favors. Okay, you say, okay, well, I'm going to click like on your video or your podcast, or I'm going to come back and watch you because I like what you're saying, because you're telling me what I want to hear. And a lot of times people are not making the association of how that's contributing to a mental decline in the general public. It's more than just that. It has deeper implications than that. Watch a couple of my videos that I put out there and see the correlation and see how it is linked to other things, so you can understand better what I'm saying. Yes, facts are important, and we don't know the difference between facts and information. That's just okay. That's just some information, and it's totally maybe not applicable truth to everyone. Your truth may not be my truth. It's just that's what a lot of people like to call an opinion. Okay, but anyway, the current era has not made proper provisions for the mental decline of a generation of people who are fed up and can't take it anymore. Take it. What is it? It's people telling you things just to be telling you because that's what they know you want to hear. Where it's not enough foresight going into understanding that this is not going to turn out very well. They're the people who are fed up. They don't want to just hear whatever you know, whatever you think that they want to hear. They're looking for facts. And one of the reasons why a lot of people are at the point where they can't take it anymore is because there were no reparations for over 400 years of slavery in America. So failure to acknowledge past wrongs emboldened many to continue to do unspeakable, inhumane things. These things continue to feed into the recipients' inability to tolerate you constantly telling them or them constantly being told only what they want to hear, as opposed to you elaborating on facts as it relates to them. That's when you get into the bloviation and retaining people's attention, not because you're telling them what they want to hear, but because you're breaking down facts. So when these wrongs were never really, I'm trying to find a good word for it. When the wrongs were never really broadcasted as, oh, this was wrong, let's acknowledge these wrongs and let's make amends for them, then people were like, oh, okay, then we're just going to keep on doing whatever. And we're going to be petty and level up that petty level of inhumane behavior. So these things continue to feed into the recipient's intolerance and the intolerance of those who witness the behavior and the intolerance of persons performing the inhumane ways. And it's like a lot of people aren't aware, or it's not being as broadcasted as those who are being victimized, that everybody is being impacted by it. It's not just the targeted group who's developing an intolerance for this behavior. It's everybody, to include the person who is conducting these inhumane acts. Yes, people who, when people behave in inhumane ways, it disturbs their mental health. Imagine that. Some people falsely believe when someone behaves in wayward ways, it doesn't negatively impact them, but it does. So be good for goodness sake. Yep, that's where that saying came from. And that's why that phrase exists. A lot of times people are like, where did that phrase come from? I remember that phrase, be good for goodness sake. And then they put it in the song for Santa Claus. I'm just saying, because it's Christmas time. I'm just saying. Hey, sis, I appreciate you coming. Thanks for commenting. But I keep saying, people think the only ones being negatively impacted by contrived harm is the target of the aggression. And nothing supports that. There is no studies or anything that supports that. But studies show that even the witnesses of other others being the witnesses are unintended targets of harm, and they're being harmed because they're witnessing the wayward acts. And in my opinion, there's so much damage done that the total measurement cannot be weighed. A lot of times when people try to go, we try to research these things, and it's like, how do we ask the questions to get us the answers so that we can gauge whether these things are impacting more than just the targeted person, and how much is impacting them. A lot of times, because these studies are being done in the workplace, and a lot of times people feel like if I say anything, I might get fired, and they're looking for jobs. And that's why you see a whole lot of involuntary turnover and a lot of voluntary turnover, because a lot of times it's impacting the way people behave and they act and perform in the workplace. But we're going to keep on acting like that's not happening. And we're going to say things like, oh, we don't need DEI. But an example of current events is how people saw how a healthcare CEO was held accountable for the waywardness of healthcare decisions and processes. The decision and processes made a lot of money, which was what a lot of people favored. That's what they wanted to hear. They wanted to hear, how can we make a lot of money selling this thing or having this? What can we do? What corners can we cut? And yet that money was not as valuable as the many people who lost their life, their livelihood, and trust in the process and the decision makers. So there was a mental snap. And a lot of times people they want to disassociate that as if there's no correlation to those things. And it's not true. Now the rush to fix things is at hand because the people are fed up. Too many people are fed up. Why are people fed up? What's wrong with them? We're doing what's been done for generations. These are the questions that people say. These are the comments that's coming. These are the justifications for not addressing these problems when they know it's a problem. It wasn't just the whole, well, it's not going to affect me because I won't be in leadership when it becomes a serious problem. I'm just saying, you can continue to go down the rabbit hole, deny, delay, and depose, but the targets are everyone. No one is outside of consequence. So just be good for goodness sake. Learn from what we've lived through. It's profitable to make proper decisions. It's more profitable because everyone lives through to the positive consequences. Because fewer people will be fed up. More patrons will derive from positive consequences than negative consequences. Fair play isn't just to gain favor. A lot of people just found that out a long time ago. It's not news. Someone being killed in the face. Yes, it's not just one community of people. Oh, because that guy was white, that it doesn't affect the black community. Yes, it does. And the person who killed him was not white. Wasn't black, but so it doesn't affect the black community. It does. It directly affects everybody. A lot of times we don't understand how the term, it sets a precedent. We don't understand what that means. What it means is this is the standard. This is an expectation. This is what's happening. And we need to turn it around. Fair play is highly profitable and even tracked as being invaluable because it creates a generational loyalty that not. You can have favor of somebody, but that's not going to retain their loyalty. I'm just saying, I can like you, but you start doing crazy stuff, selling your price gouging, or you take away DEI, and I'm not on board with that. You start to make decisions in the boardroom that's affecting everybody outside the boardroom. And it's like, you really thought that wasn't going to affect you directly? You really thought that was going to impact your finances? You really thought that the company isn't going to start to fail? I'm just saying, because previous CEOs and board of trustees and political leaders didn't simple didn't simply conclude fair and equality was favorable, so they could sleep at night, or because they were at the end of their life stages and wanted to go to heaven. They didn't come to this, oh, it's an epiphany. I had an epiphany. Let's be fair and equal across the board. No, they track the money, the profits and gains, the long money, the generational money. It was the money too short. The money too short lived otherwise. Let's look at Marshall Elevator, an elevator company since 1818. And it's like 2024, almost 2025 now. And that company still exists. Let's look at their business plan just a little bit. How did you create a business that's lasted that long? Since 1818, that was a lot of political problems. There's other companies that have lasted that long. But there's reasons why. You ride in elevators, right? Or maybe once or twice in your life, right? Think about how much money, how much more money they've made because they have a trusted brand, a trusted product. Think about that. They could have delayed, denied, and deposed because there were some problems with elevators. But where do you think that would have landed them? Pun intended. There's no way they could still be in business after all these years if they conducted themselves in inhumane ways. It would be too risky to trust an elevator because mimetic isomorphism and absorptive capacity, which are the ways business imitate or copy other companies' practices. Well, those practices would have led to elevators having a 50% failure rating or higher. And people would have been like, oh, well, that happens. What? No. Either way, patrons would not be willing to patronize the product. There would be no skyrise buildings. If there were, it'd be a whole lot of stairs and a whole lot more healthy people. Or the cemetery would be far more in demand and the prices would be crazy because they have a whole lot more demand for people dying on all them stairs trying to go up 50 and 100 flights of stairs. But I'm just saying, when there would be no skyrise buildings, that's a lot of money, and disabled people wouldn't enjoy life nearly as much without elevators. Hospitals would not have as high efficacy rating and abilities without elevators. Horror movies, even. What did you say in the comments? Oh, wait. Oh, no. I know, right? Horror movies wouldn't be as exciting without playing on our fear of failed elevators. I can't even tell you how many nightmares I've had about an elevator failing, but because elevators are so reliable, their efficiency rating is so high that it's like, I can trust this elevator. And that's the kind of loyalty that such trust brings. Generational loyalty. 1818 was a long time ago. I'm just saying, are you tracking the money and the cents? Think about it. That's a lot of money for a very long period of time. The target is everyone because it impacts everyone, not just those wanting money and those directly connected to the organization somehow. There's a far longer reach, deeper implications. That's what that means. It's deeper implications than what's on the surface. Unspoken facts, which are not as relevant until the need to dig deeper. So thankfully, elevators and their manufacturers uh, just do good for goodness sake. Can you imagine um, a person who was manufacturing an elevator just doing some bogusness because, oh, they had a bad day? Their stomach was hurting that day. They had a headache. They had a mental break. No, there's so many fail safes in making sure that that thing works properly and according to plan that it compels people to be loyal and be committed to the brand, to the object. So consequently, the generational money, that's consequential. That's the consequences people want. That's what you're trying to do in business. That's why these business plans exist. That's why mimetic isomorphism and absorptive capacity exists, because that's what they're trying to follow. I'm just saying, the consumers' loyalties and are factors of the trust. Living a comfortable, lucrative life is an outcome the organization and the associates enjoy as a result, as a direct result. So when it's favorable, you don't have people sitting there trying to say, oh, well, there's no correlation to that. Like, wait, what? Now that the business model um, to follow is being broadcast via mimetic isomorphism and absorptive capacity, because people are like talking about it. They made it popular and everybody's using it for things that the people didn't even think that, didn't even think that, oh yeah, this would be good for that, or this would be good for this purpose. And the ideas of how the product was manufactured, they took that apart and dissected and are using it for different things and different reasons and ways, but nobody really thought about those in the depth. So those deeper implications are far broader and far more far reaching than what was first thought. Elevators are a global business practice. It's profound to practice proper and humane um, acts in business. If you think about it, no business plan can afford the financial loss waywardness causes, even in short term. You don't want to know how much money you're missing out on when you're doing all that wayward decision making and saying, oh, well, we don't need DEI. We don't need to own up to the waywardness in our healthcare system. We don't need to own up to how we're really overpricing the people when it comes to housing, utilities, and bare necessities. We don't need to own up to that, but that's not true. And unfortunately, Walmart is paying the biggest price because they're being used for an example to show everybody what people are fed up with. And I feel really terrible about that, because I think everybody should just do the right thing. I'm just saying, because it's not like it was done in a void. These decisions, which were in place that we're now trying to get rid of, they were done like that for a reason, with a lot of research and study, and a lot of people who were extremely intelligent that put those standards in place. I'm just saying, would you want somebody going in the elevator and saying, we don't need this part? I'm just saying, that would be ridiculous. But anyway, you don't want to know how much money you're really missing out on. Well, when elevator developers created the elevators, do you think they understood the full implications of their creation? Do you think the healthcare CEO understood the full implications of his actions? Don't let his life be in vain because we refuse to learn better. The elevator was a modern invention. We fully understand purpose and intent, or proper business practices, policies, government, employment, schooling, faith practices, and etc. And we know that these things are relative to one another, and the decisions that's being made, especially when it comes to healthcare and healthcare practices. But it's not just the healthcare practices, but I'm using all of these things as a linking a linking act, a linking word, a linking verb even. But in those modern times, but in these modern times, people are fed up. So the implication is way more when people are doing these wayward acts. They're more profound, and it's playing on a more open view. A lot of times people are saying, well, this is some waywardness that we were doing behind closed doors already anyway, but it's not having the same impact, and it's for these reasons. Um, Not because social media, but because the era we live in, it's impossible to go back to a time when a man can have two families living a double life, and no one was the wiser. When companies could simply shred paperwork and get away with it, when little white lies and fallacies, etc., don't hurt anyone. We can't go back to that. This is not the era for that. Why? Because people are fed up, and their mental health won't let them take anymore. A lot of people didn't think that mental health was a issue that would be so profound that it would cause people to lose as much money as they have been losing, and lose the lives that weren't targeted to be lost or predicted. Yep, there was a prediction. But anyway, don't be a victim of your own lies and failure to understand when you target someone, you've also targeted yourself. Just like when you set out to do good for goodness sake, and good is returned to you in unexpected, unpredictable, inconceivable ways and times. Get out of the bunkers. Live life while life is a choice and possible. A lot of people felt like, oh, well, we've been doing this for so long, and so many people have lived long lives who have made the decision to implement these acts. Well, that's not this era. A lot of times people say, well, I think we can get away with it. I think we can still keep doing what we're doing and get away with it, and then it's going to make money. No, the money is short. Remember when I spoke about how Walmart tried to grow from being a local and national brand to being international and global? But they failed to be able to integrate into countries that were like, well, your business practices are immoral, your business practices are disturbing, your business practices harm people in diverse communities, people of color, people who do not have a particular financial status. And it was not feasible to that country to perpetuate their ability to make money and play on more people. What you say? That value was nothing but a lift that, yeah, it did often hurt people. A black man as they created doors so people wouldn't fall. And that was a really great creation in addition to the lift. Thanks for that background, Eddie. A lot of people, they don't know why things happen. And I know I made a video talking about how I used to ask why all the time. And it seems like the absolute worst question you can ever ask when you learning something. But I learned a lot because I asked why. So maybe you should try it. I'm just saying. A lot of people are, instead of living life out loud and in the open, they've gone into bunkers because and that's why you're in the bunker, because you know that this isn't the era for you going around doing those same things, those wayward practices. This is not the same era. You won't have the same outcome. You won't live the same life. You won't have the same wealth. You know the difference, and you need to stop trying to hide out in bunkers, because that's not working out. Stop trying to go down rabbit holes and chasing short-lived money that's not sound or lucrative as logical fair play is. Fair play is far more lucrative. It's long money. It's about the long money. We have yet to reach our full potential in gains for having an equal playing field. And we already trying to take away DEI. We haven't even lived the perspectives of the wealth yet. We haven't lived through what how profitable it is for organizations to have broken those glass ceilings and have women in leadership roles, qualified, well qualified women, well qualified men in um, positions of decision making for the organizations. We don't know how profitable that is because we keep going back and putting people who are not qualified to be in the position they're in because we favor them. And we're not realizing how much money we're missing. But we are seeing we're in a recession. You don't have to acknowledge it. You don't have to act like you understand that. But in doing so, you're causing yourself more mental damage because when it's finally obvious and you're realizing it because you can't escape it at all to deny it, it's like you don't have nothing left. And there's going to be a mental snapping and a mental break. Why did I say that? Because that's what history has shown. I'm just saying, look it up. But anyway, there's so much more money to gain and advancements to realize, but we're focused on the wrong thing, in my opinion, and from what you can observe if you're tracking it. Mental health is serious. You thought stress was a silent killer. Well, like evolution has taught us, humans adapt. How how did they adapt to stress? Well, most people's bodies held a lot of weight when they stressed out. They didn't just fall out and die. They started living through it, but their bodies started to hold on to a lot of weight. Previously, such weight killed people. Nowadays, more people have been labeled morbidly obese and they're living a normal life. And more people are living through being 600 pounds. You see the videos, my 600-pound life. You're seeing this. And it's like you're seeing these studies where they're like, well, how is it that more people nowadays are overweight and even labeled morbidly obese? Well, it's because that's their body's way of handling stress. Stress can cause weight gain, but mental health, baby, we're going to be tracking those implications for the rest of man's time on earth, okay? Because there's been studies, and I've talked about it previously in some shows. I've also mentioned it in my book, Generational Wealth, Information and Symmetry of Your Success, which is available on Amazon and Lulu.com. And you can ask for it wherever books are sold. I talked about and I showed you, I broke it down very plain in a small book. So it's not a whole lot of reading to do, very succinct and to the point. And I showed you how studies, which were created and done a long time ago, which were empirical studies. That means this is not theoretical. This is actual, factual, evidentiary things that happen that you can see and put your hands on. The people that it was happening to, you can see them, you can hear from them. Nowadays, we have social media, so you can hear and see from those people and know that this is real. People are holding on to the weight and they're probably not even eating a lot. They're not even eating heavy. But the problem is the stress and that factor of the body fighting to keep on living, keep thriving, keep surviving. Now, don't look at me. Stop looking at me. I've been saying it for as long as I can remember. People ask me and they swear I'm high knowledge when they ask me, how do you do it? How do you know? How did you perform so well? How did you speak so well? How did you get such positive outcomes? Well, I can tell you, but I can show you better. And I did say and show you in my book, and I show in different academic writings, which are free. And I talk about how to access that in my book. Just look up my name, Tina Phillips. Look where I went to school. I went to University of Phoenix, and then I went somewhere else after that to get my PhD. Look me up. Find my writings. Read it. So to ask me is to acknowledge your doubt in my own limitations, my known limitations, my challenges, and my success. So you asking me these things because you know, you like, well, how did you do that? Because you're acknowledging that you doubt. Oh man, that's just profound. How did you accomplish that? Yep, because you understand this. There was a factor that's missing that you don't know about. What is that factor? Well, so if I inform you, I promise it was God. Don't tell me I lied to you. Why would I lie to you, my friend? Yes, I know wolves in sheep's clothing, but I know God wishes no soul should be lost. So even though I can identify you're a wolf in sheep's clothing, I'm still not gonna lie to you. He wants all the souls to return to him to stay. So who am I to lie like history doesn't already possess the empirical evidence which proves the facts? Who am I to lie like the seminal writings like the Bible doesn't give a play-by-play, which all readers come to understand better by and by at their appointed time? Each person's brain is created to digest information differently and at their appointed time. So when philosophers, they're the thinking community, philosophers may ask and even posit theories, and theologists, those are people who study the Bible, they may illuminate just their parts. But I'm telling you, as your whole person needs to know facts for such a time as these. Your mental health is your brain's way of fighting back. The sane is not mentally unstable in a void. It didn't happen in a void. They're fighting back. And they're like, well, how did you do it? How did you do it? It's like, I did it the same way you can. Don't look at me. Look at the deeds. It's no respect or disrespect of person. It's the deeds. Stop trying to force people to believe there's no correlation, no link to these dominoes, because the effect to them seems too far away for the consequence to come back on you as the authoritarian who tried to make the disassociation which caused the mental break. Don't assume credit where it's not due. That's another factor that which will create a mental break in somebody, because you're saying, well, this is how I did it, and you know full well that's not how you did it, and you surprised yourself. But it was this one time you prayed because it wasn't going right, and then things start happening for you. So give credit where it's due. Stop trying to convince people you have a brilliant plan like a panacea, like this is gonna cure everything. Don't do that. Stop doing that. People, this is not the era for that. People's mental health cannot take it. Stop trying to force decisions in politics, in schools or organizations, in faith places, in domestic places, etc. Like you don't understand the purpose of tracking history was to remember history and move forward to advance and increase gains and profits. That's why people made those staples of the business practices. That's why they made it the way they did. That's why they created DEI the way they did. That's why they created the ability to break through these glass ceilings and accept the advancements. That it was profits and gains. You say no, you'll do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and to whomever you want, when you want. Are you not seeing how that's working out? It's not just for your soul's sake. It's for everything. Every domino. Some dominoes fall faster than others, but sometimes dominoes fall outside of their predicted order. So despite you being in a bunker, despite your false belief that you're untouchable, despite you falsely believing it's your right to do a thing because it's your turn or your authoritative reign, leadership seems desirable to those longing for the spotlight or attention seeking, but the consequences have deeper implications than first known. Otherwise, people would be more obviously deny the validation of appointing leaders. because that's not how leaders are appointed. I'm just saying. People pick people to lead, often to be a fall guy. We've seen it. You've seen it. But God puts leaders in lead, regardless of titles, respect, people's favor, or people's support. People can choose to follow whatever rule they want, but the right decision is known. Stop letting people put you on pedestals. They know and they're entertained. They know you don't belong there and they thoroughly entertained. I'm just saying, stop entertaining people at your own detriment. Stop increasing your limitations because you allow people to make you a fall guy who never sees it coming. A lot of times people put you on a pedestal and you become the fall guy who never saw it coming. We've seen it. People going to jail and they had no idea they were going to be the fall guy for whatever the consequences which was created. But everybody moved out the way and said, well, it's not going to happen in my time. And then when it did happen in their time, they just found a fall guy. Then they were fully entertained, trying to watch you cover their behind. I'm just saying, y'all might want to watch, see what's going on. You are not the successor of a perpetually broken system. Stop standing in positions you're being a clown for fulfilling. Why would you accept those roles? Don't be their clown. The rabbit hole is a bedazzled hell gateway for the purpose of luring and blind followers to justify knowingly going the wrong way. But you can turn around right now. Don't let that man die and be in vain because you didn't understand the deeper implications and how it related to your life and the decisions that's being made for your life. Turn around. Don't keep going down that rabbit hole. It's not going to lead where you think it's going. I know, right, sis? It's like these things is very unfortunate, but these things are happening for a reason. You still have breath in your body. You still have life. You still have a chance to turn around. Take these hits. Stop forgetting how time is short. Not just because famine and the rise of plagues and pandemics, yet those factor in, but because it's only going to take one mental health break at the most random time and life is over. Your time was cut shorter than expected. Your domino fell because someone who was falsely believed to be a non-factor showed the world why the phrase, I need you to survive, is a fact. A lot of times these decisions are made because people they see these people, the victims, as non-factors. They see them as irrelevant. They see them as, oh, well, I'm going to get the money while they're alive. And when they're not no more, I'm not going to worry about it because, hey, I don't care about nothing but the money. That's all it takes is one. Yes, that's all it takes. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it in different ways. We're seeing it from different people. We're seeing it unexpectedly and randomly, but it's consistent. I'm just saying. I'm just reminding you. I'm not doing anything more than that. But I'm also showing you how it's relative to you. Because it's like we don't understand why these phrases exist. Phrases like, I am because you are. But it's a fact. I am because you are. If you okay, then I'm okay. Not, oh, I'm going to victimize you and then I'm going to still be okay. That's not working out. Stop relearning infamous facts and at the cost of loss of lives that didn't need to be lost. We already know these infamous facts. They're famous for a reason. It didn't just come out of nowhere. It didn't just happen in a void. These are factual sayings from people who were very intelligent, and they was like, let me sum it up. Let me make it real succinct. I am because you are. If I'm okay, you okay. If you happy, I'm happy. I'm just saying, remember, it's not about going through problems. It's how you make it through to positive, desirable outcomes that make the difference. Stop listening to those who falsely claim God can't use you and God don't care about you because the many ways you are not desirable or capable. God used a cheating woman in a time where they would stone a woman, and then Jesus was like, well, he is without sin, let them cast the first stone. And nobody cast the stone because they knew that that cheating woman was cheating with somebody. Yeah, crickets. I'm just saying. But God used that example to show people, stop being so judgy. Stop putting yourself on a pedestal. But we continue down the pattern of putting people on pedestals falsely. Where's it gotten us? We can't get out of those negative ruts from generations ago. Imagine that. This is why mental health is such a problem. It didn't happen in a void. That took place a long time ago. Jesus has been gone a long time. I'm just saying. God also used what was it? He used that example to show people how they fall short despite how much highly they think of themselves, because they have titles or because they have favor of other people or money or whatever. It didn't matter. God also used Rahab, whose occupation in the Bible was stated to be a prostitute. God used a stubborn mule who was long muted from speaking to actually speak. These are examples which derive from empirical evidence. That means somebody lived these experiences. That means you better be more watchful and see how this relates to your mental health, because it only takes one time for somebody to mentally snap, and it's happening far more often, and people are trying to act like they don't understand the correlation. They don't understand where it came from. They don't understand how this is the life we're realizing right now. What do you mean you don't know how we got here? What do you mean you still think it's insignificant factor to wealth and life and health? What? Stop listening to people say things which have no evidence of this magnitude. The things that I'm talking about, the reason why I keep talking about the Bible is not to say to follow a particular faith, because that's not even in the Bible. I'm just going to put it out there. You can be mad at me, but it didn't say follow a particular faith. It said this is the way, this is the acts that you should perform in order to get God's favor, in order to go the way God wants you to go. And it never said anything about being perfect, because I ain't never seen a prostitute who was perfect. I ain't never seen a mule who is stubborn be favored out of all the rest of the stubborn mules to speak above all the other mules. I'm just saying, I've never seen a cheating woman be so highly thought of that, oh, she should be used as an example. But if we look at the evidence, we can track how we got here mentally. We can track that those things were falsities that led us to a mental break, because clearly you thinking highly of yourself don't make a difference. You having a high title don't make a difference, don't mean nothing to nobody. Just like being a prostitute didn't mean nothing to nobody, because that prostitute saved lives. And then her and her family was saved. Rahab's family, her whole family was saved when everybody else was slaughtered. I'm just saying, sinners were used more in the Bible than people in the churches and the synagogues. If you read it, you might start believing God used those examples to draw non-believers and sinners more than to retain the souls he already had. Imagine that. Imagine that just for a moment. While you're sitting there telling those people and discouraging those people, talking about how they're a non-factor, and how their lives don't matter, and how they too despicable. I'm just saying, good thing that this is the way the Bible was written, because there was a time I didn't know better, and I'm still learning. You have to have faith in God. That's all it takes. And Jesus showed the way. There was never a time where Jesus did anything that was orthodox. I'm just saying, orthodoxy, man-made orthodoxy existed during Jesus' time and before his time, and even now after him. And it's like, though we see that orthodoxy is broken, it's slanted, it's perpetuating the decline in mental health in more ways than people can track in studies, in more ways than people can enunciate or enumerate or even convey. But we still keep trying to perpetuate that. We keep trying to justify and validate it. And then when we see the repercussions of it, we want to act like there's no correlations, there's no associations, there's no link. And it's not true. It's simply not true. And that is what's causing the continuation of the mental decline, because we keep going down this bedazzling gateway to hell, but you still have life in your body. Turn around. Turn around. We don't know. We can't tell you exactly how this is going to affect you. We can't tell you, oh, if you keep doing this, then tomorrow going to be your last day. We can't tell you that. What we can tell you is look at how it has impacted the most current person everybody's talking about. Look at how it's impacted him. Look at what happened during President Trump, well, the elect now, ex-president or current coming elect, whatever you want to call it. Look at how Donald Trump, when during his era, his very first time being president, look at all the things that happened. Look at how people were at risk. Health care was a bigger problem. Look at all these factors and turn around. Learn from it. I'm not saying be mad at anybody, because one thing about the way God operates, he's sovereign. He uses and do whatever he wants. He don't care about your like and dislike, respect and disrespect. He don't care about that. He can use whomever, to include Trump. So don't pin all your disappointments on his reelection. Okay? Because at any point in time, God can use whomever he chooses to turn things back in a way that it should go, so that less negative consequences are lived. We can stop this, but it takes for us to understand that, yeah, I did the best I could, or maybe I didn't have the right intentions, or just acknowledge whatever it is and turn it for the betterment of everyone. Not just a selected few, while you're ignorant to the idea and understanding of how this is going to come back at you to hurt you. Let's realize that. Let's take these examples, these current events. Let's realize, let's learn from it. Not continuing to go down dark paths and claim, it don't stink. Claim, well, that didn't hurt. Yep, I lost something, but it didn't hurt. We'll just replace that person. That person gone. That job opportunity is now open. It's vacant. Let's just fill it with another body. Oh, there's a fall guy position available. Stop doing that. Stop putting people who are not ready to help the advancement because they don't have the intellect, the capability, the desire, the will, the drive. That which would cause, like, the denial of gravity, of the waywardness and the temptation to be wayward. They don't have the ability to deny that in order to turn things in the way that it should go. Reach across the aisle. We're always reaching across the aisle because there's profits and gains of untold measure. That's why we do it. Stop acting like, oh, we don't need these rules set in place when we do. I really hope that we hurry up and fix it, because I hate to see Walmart take a hit, because that was the last company that was a small mom and pop shop that made it that big. And I really hate to see it go under, because you fail to understand the deep implications. Or should I say, you fail to act like you understand, because I think you do understand. I think you know. I think you're doing these things knowingly, because you feel like it's factual what people told you about. Oh, this is your turn. This is your legacy. This is your name. You're gonna create a legacy. Don't let that legacy be, oh, this is how we learn better, when this person failed and didn't get up again. And now we slow walking and sad talking while we bury this person. Don't let that be your legacy, when you can have a more positive legacy and live to enjoy it. Do you think that when the elevator company encountered their problems, that they didn't understand that if they didn't handle it and own up to it and fix it, that it would affect them in ways that they couldn't elaborate or enumerate or convey? They had a sense, a feeling. We all have that feeling. This is your time. This is the chance. Everything is going so wrong. This is the time. This is the chance. This is your turn. Fix it. Have a more positive legacy. Live through enjoying turning that waywardness around. Everything happens for a reason. The mental breaks that people are having compels us all to take a bigger step forward in advancement and securing those things that we have in place, which permits these advancements, not omits them, not takes them away and validate wrong, because we failed to acknowledge via reparations, via acknowledgments and payments accordingly to the suffrage. Let's not keep acting like there's no correlation. Let's stop acting like this happened in the void and it's so random. It's not. It's been generations in the making. You have one choice. Live to make the right decision and enjoy it, or don't. I would say that that's not a choice, because you could live a long life, a long, prosperous, lucrative life. So that's why I say it's only one choice. But yeah, we've seen the other choice. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be accountable to that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to hurt like that. Even though I don't even know that guy. I don't know either one of the guys. I don't know none of those people. But my heart aches for them. All of them, everybody involved. All the people that were delayed, denied, and deposed. All the people who made the decision, not understanding the deep implications. Everybody, even those people who are bold enough to let it be heard, it's not over. We know it's not over. You didn't have to announce it. We just need more people out here saying and pleading, making the case that it's more lucrative to do the right thing. It's more lucrative to have loyal customers who feel compelled as opposed to obligated. Compelling the spirit is far longer lasting, is generational wealth, than it is obligating because of favor. That's been my time for today. Remember, mental health is physical wealth.
mental health is physical wealth.